Hey fellow survivors, I'm so glad you're able to tune in for this installment of the Village Chronicle. My name is James Roberts, and as you can see, I have found temporary safe haven inside this rather really nice brewery. Now, for those of you wondering where my co-host Jeremy Felch is, I'm pleased to update you that he is alive and well and currently building up new villages in the north for some of the survivors he's found up there. Now, during this time, he has sent in multiple reports of how to survive in these apocalyptic times, which I will share with you momentarily. So thank you, Jeremy, for all the work you continue to do for us out there. Please continue to be safe. Now, I have dedicated this installment of the Village Chronicle to you so you can better survive this apocalypse by learning how to play zombies, vampires, and meteorites. Ooh. All right, so before things get any worse out here and I have to go back to reinforcing the barricades, let's dive right into things. Firstly, you'll want to lay out the board game and its contents like so. Since everyone starts off as a human, we'll just worry about these pieces here for now. You can place the quick play human cards here with the element conversion side face up. Now, as a human, your goal is simple. Survive 12 months of the apocalypse and conclude your turn in your home village with one of each element. These are the 5 human avatars you may choose, as each game can have up to 5 players. These are defenses you can build and improve as you play. Small, worth 1 month of survival or 1 point, medium, worth 2, and large, worth 4. These are supply crates, each worth 1 month. And these are the 4 elements you'll come across and want to collect. There are 15 of each: water, crops, rock, and wood, and it is possible to run out of these during the game. Feel free to place them on the side here for players to easily access. These are the 2 meteorites. This is the survive flip coin. These are the movement and coordinate die. This is the grab bag that holds all 49 possible locations, which include the 4 elements, mountains, the 5 home villages, and the zombie city and the vampire graveyard. Now, to begin your adventure, take the 2 coordinate dice and roll them. Whatever letter and number appear is the starting point for your adventure. Take the white meteorite and place it there. Then all players will put their avatars there. The first player will roll the movement dice and explore the board. Never quite get used to that. Now, we're briefly going to discuss how this dice works and the rules of movement. You'll notice that the movement die only goes up to 5, and there's a meteorite symbol here called the survive, which we'll talk about in a moment. If you roll a 4, then you get to move 4 spaces. Pretty straightforward. Moving does have a few specific rules. You can only move up, down, left, or right. Never diagonally, and you can never retrace the same step in the same turn, and you must conclude your turn on a different space than from where you started. For instance, you roll a 5. You can do this, and this, but not this, or this. As stated, you must end your turn on a different space than from where you started, if possible. If you cannot, then you forfeit your turn. As a human, you cannot end on a mountain that has already been discovered, like so, or the zombie city, vampire graveyard, or the white meteorite. If you wish to move through one of these locations, it requires 2 movements to pass through instead of 1. Now, let's discuss the survive symbol. In the advent, you roll a survive. Immediately roll the coordinate dice. If you get a letter and a number, then take the survive flip coin and flip it. There are 2 outcomes here. One is a crate of supplies to help you survive for a month. Take the orange crate and place it on the coordinates rolled. The other outcome is a meteorite, which, let's hope you survive. If you flip this, then take the black meteorite and place it on the coordinates rolled, like so. You'll notice on both the coordinate dice, there is also a survive symbol. If a single survive symbol appears after being rolled, then whatever was headed down from above burns up in the atmosphere. In other words, nothing happens and that player's turn is now over. In the advent that both survives are rolled, then the outcome lands directly on the player's space who rolled it. Now, let's get back to exploring the board. You roll a 2 and choose to end your turn on a space that has yet to be discovered. Reach into the grab bag and pull out a location. In this case, it's an element. When you discover an element for the first time, take 2 of those cards and add them to your collection. It is recommended that you keep those cards to yourself so other players can't see. If you choose to end your turn on an element that has already been discovered, you only get one of that element. Once you collect your elements, you may use them, if possible. But if you choose not to, or you cannot do anything with them, then your turn is over. Now, let's say as player green, you've discovered your green village. When any player finds their own village, you get to automatically place a fortified defense on that location worth 2 months of survival. Should the green player have found a village of a different color, then a basic defense is placed on that location. Remember, for a human to win, their corresponding village will need to be found. Before we move on, let's explore what options exist when you have a collection of elements at your disposal. Remember, you can always use the backside of the Quick Play Human card for reference. Ending your turn on an element, or the discovery of an element, you can build on it by using 1 wood and 1 rock, as long as another player has not already done so. Return the elements to the bank and place the basic defense on the space like so. Doing so provides 2 benefits. The first being that anytime you end your turn on an element with your own defense, you get double that element. The second is that another player cannot attack you when you are there. Very helpful as the game progresses. Now keep in mind, you only have 5 of these, and you cannot upgrade anything that's built on an element. And just so we're perfectly clear, humans cannot attack other humans. We're all on the same team here. Humans, however, can always share the same space together and can even trade elements if both parties agree. Getting back to the elements here, you can use 1 water and 1 crop to build on any village space if you so choose. Place the basic defense on the location like so. From there, you can use 1 of each element to upgrade that structure to an improved defense. Just swap out the small block for the medium block, giving you back a basic defense to use. And then you can upgrade once more using 2 of each element for a fortified defense. Building must take place in that order. You'll also note that if you have any 3 of the same element, you can turn those in for any 1 element of your choice during the course of your turn. So now you have a general overview of how to survive the apocalypse as a human. Explore, collect elements, and generate 12 months of survival to win. Unfortunately, there's a pretty serious threat coming down from the skies, and that's the meteorite. You just never get used to that. Now look, quite a bit needs to happen for a meteorite to appear on the board. First, a survive must be rolled on the movement die. Then the coordinate dice must have a valid location, 1 letter and 1 number. And then a meteorite needs to be flipped on the survive coin. So let's examine what happens when that trifecta takes place. If the meteorite lands on a space, whether it's explored or not, then no one can end their turn on that space. You also cannot move through it as it's too hot. You must go around it. If it landed adjacent, not diagonally, to a human, then half of however many elements that human is holding on to is blindly taken away by the player who rolled the meteorite. Always round down. So if a player has 5 elements, half in this case would be 2, 6 would be 3, 7 would also be 3, and so on. If it lands directly on a human, then that human loses all their elements, and that player, while not killed, is stuck there until the meteorite is removed or relocated. That means that if the player rolls a 5, they cannot move because of the meteorite. However, if a survive is rolled and a single survive icon comes face up on the coordinate dice and the meteorite is flipped, then the meteorite is removed from the board. Or if the coordinates were rolled and the meteorite symbol is flipped, then the meteorite is relocated elsewhere on the board. In either scenario, the player is now free to move on their next turn. If the meteorite lands on a structure, no matter its size, it is destroyed. The defense is removed from the board and placed back into that player's inventory, and the player loses those points. Now, while the meteorite is a substantial threat that comes at random, the apocalypse has also yielded some terrible monsters, which is where you humans will find that secondary benefit of collecting elements, the ability to attack or defend. So, while you brave survivors are out there exploring your surroundings, let's examine what to do when you come across a zombie. As player green explores, they uncover the zombie city. Immediately, all green-related pieces on the board are removed, including all elements in their hand, defenses on the board, and supply crates in their possession. Take the original zombie piece and place it on the city. Leave the other 5 zombies to the side. This concludes that player's turn. according to one of Jeremy's reports, the way zombies appear to survive the apocalypse is by replicating and concluding their final turn with all 6 zombies in the zombie city. Do note that if a zombie is already located in the city, then they are not required to move. Now, for better or for worse, zombies in this universe move slowly. So that means whatever number is rolled on the movement die, it's 1 less. So if a 4 is rolled, then they only move 3. If a 2, then 1. If a 1 is rolled, then they stay there and automatically attack if another player is also present on the same space. Now, while the slowness may sound pretty great to us humans, the advantage here is that the zombie is able to, in a single turn, move each individual zombie on the board. That means that if there are 6 zombies present, the player can move all 6 zombies, if able, for whatever movement number was rolled. For example, a 5 is rolled, which is a 4. In this case, the red zombie cannot complete a full movement, so they stay put, but all the other zombies here can. If a zombie discovers an element, nothing happens, but it is a good way to keep humans from collecting double elements. Place the location there as normal. Now, apparently there are 2 ways a zombie can replicate. If a zombie discovers a village, then they automatically replicate and the corresponding zombie is placed on the board. A red village generates a red zombie. If a zombie attacks a human who cannot defend, then place that corresponding zombie on that location. Thankfully, zombies are defenseless, so it's very easy to kill them. If the red, white, blue, green, or yellow zombie is killed, then they are removed from the board and must wait until either they are replicated again through a village or a zombie attacks a human who cannot defend. For example, the green zombie was killed. You can either send a zombie to the green village and replicate, or you can try and attack the green human. If the human cannot defend, then the human loses half their elements, rounded down and pulled by the zombie player. The green zombie is placed on that location. If the original zombie is killed, then they are removed from the board and can only be brought back when a survive is rolled on the movement die, regardless of the subsequent outcome. Bravely, Jeremy submitted an eyewitness report a couple days ago about some of the zombies' limitations. According to his report, zombies cannot attack a human on an element with their own defense. For example, this zombie cannot attack the green human because they built their own defense. However, the same zombie can attack the red human because they are on an element with the defense of another player's. When trying to end their turn in a village, zombies cannot do so if another player already exists there. Similarly, they cannot end their turn on a village unless the number of zombies trying to enter are at least equal to the number of defenses there. For example, this village has 2 structures on it. Therefore, the red zombie cannot enter alone. However, the red and yellow zombie can, and as a result, replicate into the green zombie. Note that the size of the defense here does not matter, only the number of structures present. Also, zombies cannot end their turn in a village if the corresponding zombie already exists on the board. So, the green zombie cannot end on the red village because the red zombie already exists here. Jeremy was also able to confirm that meteorites are bad for the zombie's health, but only if it lands directly on them. Anytime this happens, the zombie is killed and removed from the board. If the original zombie is killed, then the player must wait for the next survive to be rolled in order to respawn back in the game. It is possible for the original zombie to become stuck by a meteorite. Now, there is some huge piece of good news out there for us humans. If you kill a zombie matching your color, or the original zombie, you automatically obtain 1 month's worth of survival with a survival crate. Add this to your monthly survival stash. It's a great way to keep those zombies at bay while racking up 12 months. Now currently, that's all the intel we have on zombies. And I certainly wish that was the last of the threats out there, but survivors, be aware. We have confirmed reports now of a sinister vampire lurking in the shadows. So let's talk about what to do in the scenario that you come across one. In the event that either a zombie or a human discover the vampire graveyard, that player will remove all current possessions from the board and place the vampire on the graveyard. This goes both ways. If the vampire is already on the board and discovers the zombie city, then they are converted into the original zombie. The vampire has 2 sets of pieces. The black discs here are the black blood drops. The colored discs are the coffins representing each village. Place these to the side like so. The vampire will always start with 2 of the black blood drops. Now, Even though there's only one vampire out there that we know about, it's hard to kill and extremely fast. That means that whatever number is rolled, add 1. For example, if a 5 is rolled, it is considered a movement of 6. If a 1 is rolled, then they can move 2 spaces, and so on. Now, from what we understand, the vampire's goal in surviving the apocalypse is to sire members from each village and bring their coffins to the graveyard. Once all 5 coffins and the vampire are present on the graveyard, the game ends. Because of the vampire's need to be invited in, the vampire cannot attack a human if they are on a space with their own defense, just like with the zombies. However, if the human is on an element with another player's defense, or none at all, then they're free range. At this point, the vampire has to make a choice, to suck blood or to attack. So let's look into what these 2 options mean. Suck blood allows the vampire the opportunity to obtain 2 more black blood drops from a human player. These black blood drops are hugely important in defending against attacks and being able to enter villages with structures. If a vampire chooses to suck blood from a human and that human cannot defend with a wood and wheat, then the vampire blindly removes half their elements, rounded down, and obtains 2 black blood drops. Similarly, if the vampire chooses to suck blood from a zombie, it automatically obtains 1 black blood drop, since zombies have no defense and their blood is not as revitalizing. The other option is to attack. Because of the amount of energy it takes to try and kill something, a single black blood drop is required per attack. Place the used black blood drop back into your inventory. If the target is a human who cannot thwart the attack, then the human loses half their cards, rounded down, and the vampire obtains the corresponding coffin and leaves it on that space. For example, the vampire expels a single black blood drop and successfully attacks the human, obtaining the coffin and leaving it on that space. If the vampire attacks a zombie, then that zombie is killed and removed from the board, but a coffin is not rewarded. For the vampire, entering a village can be easy or hard. If no other player is present and there are no defenses on there, then a vampire can end its turn there and automatically obtain the corresponding coffin. If there are 1 or more defenses, then the vampire will need to use the same number of black blood drops as there are structures in order to enter. For example, the yellow village has 3 defenses on it. The vampire must use 3 black blood drops to enter. Note that the size of the defense here does not matter. Place the yellow coffin on that location. Keep in mind that the vampire also cannot enter the village if the corresponding coffin already exists on the board, or if there is another player already there. One of Jeremy's most recent reports on the vampire reveals an interesting save feature it possesses. Each time the vampire chooses to end its turn on the vampire graveyard, any coffins located on the board are automatically transferred there. We have 3 coffins in the red, yellow, and blue village, and a white coffin on an element here. The vampire ends its turn by returning to the graveyard, and all 4 coffins are now transported here. Jeremy's report also includes some intel about what happens when a meteorite is involved. Apparently, meteorites are as effective as a stake through the heart. If a meteorite lands on a vampire, it is killed and removed from the board. It can only respawn back at the graveyard when a survive is rolled. Any coffins on the board that are not located or saved on the graveyard are removed from the board. For example, the white and red coffins are on the graveyard and the green and blue coffins on a village and element. A meteorite lands on the vampire, killing it. The vampire, along with the green and blue coffins, are then removed from the board, but not these. Note that coffins cannot be destroyed by another player. In the event that a meteorite lands on the graveyard, then any saved coffins there are obliterated and they will have to be reclaimed. A slight piece of good news here for us humans is that anytime a human kills the vampire, they are rewarded with a month's worth of supplies. For example, the yellow human attacks the vampire, which does not have any black blood drops to defend itself with. The vampire is killed and removed from the board, and the yellow player is rewarded with a supply crate. Okay, well, look, I think that's going to be all the time I'm going to have here for this report. If there are particular questions or technicalities on any of the information provided here today, please refer to your emergency field guide for specifics. Best of luck out there. Stay safe, live well, and be the survivor we know you are. This is James Roberts reporting for the Village Chronicle.